Why should we attend the funeral of someone who has nothing to do with us in the first place? Pardon me? What does she mean by nothing to do with them? We don't have time to attend a stranger's funeral. You go ahead and have it on your own. Later, when I returned home from the funeral, I saw a file on the table. Divorce papers. At that moment, I made up my mind to cut off all ties with my husband and his family. I would use that money only for me and my mother. My name is Amelia, a 30-year-old office worker. My husband Joe and I have been married for 3 years. He and I met on a dating app. He carried himself in a gentle and calm manner that I thought if I was with him, I would be able to spend peaceful and happy times. We exchanged our numbers and went on a series of dates. As expected, he was always kind, and I found him very comforting. He took very good care of me, and I seriously considered marrying him. It was fortunate that he thought the same and proposed to me. Of course, I accepted immediately. And so we were engaged and immediately went to greet each other's parents. We first met with mine. Both my mom and dad felt comfortable with his gentle personality and rejoiced in our engagement. Next, we went to greet his family. In addition to his parents, his sister Erin, who still lived with them, was present. They seemed to be a close-knit family, and Joe smiled more than usual. I loved him more when I found him not only kind, but also family-oriented. I was excited about marrying him, imagining that we would have a very happy and joyful family with children. However, I had one complaint. It was about our wedding. He and I had talked a lot about it and were making all kinds of preparations. But then his mother, Leah, and Erica meddled with us. At first, he just mentioned her in the conversations like, "My mom suggested this." I was grateful for more ideas, so I listened quietly. Leah gradually began to interject a lot of suggestions, and by the time I realized, she was an active member of my wedding preparation. I wanted to make the decision along with Joe, and was annoyed with her presence, but of course I couldn't ask her to leave. I had no choice but to keep quiet and to accept her. Then even Erin started to join in and eagerly shared her ideas for my wedding. When I told them what I had in my mind, they disagreed and suggested doing it their way. I was frustrated as it was my wedding, but Joe agreed with them. I thought if he liked their suggestions, then I should have let him have it his way. The worst part was when it came to my wedding dress. I already had decided which one to wear. When I tried it on for the first time, it looked really good on me, and I loved it. But Leah and Erin criticized me for being tacky. They brazenly spoke out whatever was in their mind. Like it was out of the question to wear such a dress, and it blurred my body line that I looked like an old lady. They picked out a dress and forced me to wear it. It was not my style, and I could see that it didn't suit me at all. I told Joe about it, but he didn't take my side and said his mom and sister were not of their way to choose it for me. This was definitely disappointing for me. It was our wedding, but why couldn't he respect my opinion? Otherwise, he was dependable as he took the initiative of doing the housework and cooking for us. We were already living together at that time, and I loved him so much that I had no desire to leave him. I ended up wearing the dress Leah and Erin picked out for me during the ceremony, and the dress I liked was worn for the reception. Leah and Erin looked pleased, but when I asked my friends about it later, they all said the other one looked much better on me. My close friends even thought it was odd that I chose something out of my usual taste. My memories of the wedding were both good and bittersweet. It was also the events that made me distrust my in-laws. After that, I was very careful in my dealing with them. As a result, my relationship with them wasn't bad after 3 years of marriage. But then there was an incident that changed everything. It all started when my dad became seriously ill and required nursing at home. I went to my parents' house in between my work to help my mom take care of him. Joe was understanding and didn't argue about me spending my time away from home and did the housework by himself. On the contrary, he even drove me there when he had time. Days went by and Christmas arrived. It was when I offended my in-laws. I took my leave from work earlier and had been staying at my parents' house to help my dad, who had limited mobility. I helped my mom decorate the house and prepare Christmas dinner. The three of us spent the holiday together. In fact, the doctor told me that my dad's condition wasn't good, and I didn't know how much longer I had with him. I wanted to have as much time as possible with my dad and mom. That seemed to have angered my in-laws. When I was having a relaxed family time, I received a call from Joe. "Hello, Hen, what's going on?" "Oh, sweetheart, can you come over here right away?" "Why? What's wrong?" "My mom and dad are mad that you're not joining us." "But I told you that I wanted to spend time with my parents this year. Didn't you tell them that?" "Of course I told them, but they don't agree. My mom says a wife should visit her husband's parents on Christmas Day. My relatives are waiting for you too." I was speechless. He understood my dad's condition better than anyone in my laws. Yet he was letting them manipulate the situation. "I'm sorry, but I've decided to spend this year with my own parents. I can't join you guys," I said with a firm voice. He covertly said, "Don't say that." He couldn't stand on his own feet against his parents and pleaded with me to make it happen. My in-laws were very healthy, and if Erica and other relatives are celebrating together, I didn't see what the big deal of me missing. In light of all this, I wanted to celebrate with my parents that year. This incident caused my relationship with my in-laws to deteriorate. Later on, I visited them with a box of sweets to apologize. But I was met by their blatantly cold demeanor upon my arrival. "Oh my, you come too late. What are you doing here?" I just came for the holiday greeting. Here's a box of sweets." Leah took the package and snarled, "I don't need your greeting." She seemed to be quite upset, so I apologized for missing the celebration. "I'm sure you've heard of Joe. My father is very ill, and I don't know how much longer he lives, so I wanted to spend this Christmas with him. I hope you understand." My in-laws gave me cold stares, crossing their arms. "You don't really care about us anyway, do you?" Leah blurted with spite. "No way, that's not true." "Well then, show us your sincerity. Show us how much you care." Sincerity. That's right. First of all, go on by the streets we like. Not these randomly selected ones. With that, she threw the present I gave her into the trash. I was stunned. What a terrible action on her part. I looked at Joe, who had an awkward expression. Erin spoke up. I'd like to try Angela's tarts. It was an expensive patisserie. They had a luxurious price tag for little tarts. My father-in-law followed her. Then I'll have some pumpkin pie from Joan's Country Kitchen. It was another fancy pie factory. Finally, Leah said, I want chocolates from Valerie's. They were as expensive as the tarts Erin asked for. Moreover, the shops mentioned were located slightly apart from each other. It would have been very difficult to fulfill all their wishes at once. Can I get one of them today? They gave me the same cold stare that they had given me earlier. The next one to speak up was my husband. Of course not. You'll have to get them all. I felt great dismay toward him. As one would expect with such an unreasonable request, Joe of all people would have been on my side. Moreover, on the way to his parents' house, he said, I'll do my best to repair the damage between you and my family. We were there, and he immediately took their side. I got into the car feeling frustrated with him, and hurried to buy the things they requested. When I came back, I was questioned why I took so long, and was called useless for being late. They were all popular shops, and I had to wait in line. Also, none of them were close to each other, so it was no wonder it took so long. I didn't understand why I was being scolded. Since then, they regularly called me to their house and used me like a servant. You said you would take care of us, so of course you would do this much, right? They made me do housework, cook, and help with the grocery shopping, to name a few. They really made me do a lot of things for them. When I reached my limit, I told them that I was fed up with being treated so unreasonably, and refused to visit them. No matter how much I tried to satisfy them, their attitude toward me didn't improve. On the contrary, it was getting worse. Besides, it was hard for me to take care of both my dad and in-laws. So I decided to just go to my parents' house. Joe blamed me for not obeying his family, but I had more than enough with him. I made it clear to him that I didn't deserve to be treated like a housekeeper or slave any longer. My in-laws were apparently complaining about me, but I ignored them and focused on my dad's care. In the meantime, his condition worsened, and he was rushed to the hospital. Unfortunately, he couldn't be saved this time and passed away. My mom and I were both devastated, but we had a lot of work to do, like preparing for the funeral. We pushed our feelings aside until at least after the arrangements were made. While we were both busy, I called Joe and explained the situation. He was just at his parents' house, and I asked them to attend the funeral. He agreed, but then a few minutes later, he called me back. When I picked up the phone, Leah's voice came out. Hello, is this Amelia? Hi, Leah. Is everything okay? Who do you think you are? Pardon me? You're so Siberia, suddenly asking us to come to your funeral. Oh, no, I didn't mean. Why should we attend the funeral of someone who has nothing to do with us in the first place? Pardon me? What does she mean by nothing to do with them? We don't have time to attend a stranger's funeral. Stranger, Joe and I are married, so we are family. Yes, a useless daughter-in-law like you is a stranger. So your parents are also strangers. We don't care about your father's funeral. You go ahead and have it on your own. Then she hung up the phone. I was in shock. I sent a message to Joe in a panic, but he replied, "My parents say I don't have to go, so I'm not coming either." I was flabbergasted that I read the message over and over again. He sounded not to have his own will. I was amazed that he was so under his parents' plum. I focused on my dad for the time being, and my mom and I went ahead with the funeral. When my relatives asked me why Joe and his family were not present, I gave them an honest answer. Everyone was furious and said I should disassociate myself from such people. I was thinking about divorce too. When I got home, I needed to have a talk with Joe. Later, when I returned home from the funeral, I found a file on a table. I was surprised to see there were divorce papers inside. Joe's part was already filled in. The witness column had the name of his relatives. Joe was not at home, and I didn't even get a chance to talk to him. I was sure this was his intention. At that moment, I made up my mind to cut all ties with him and his family. If that was what he wanted, I wasn't going to hesitate. I immediately contacted a divorce lawyer, packed my belongings, and went back to my parents' house. My mom was listening to the phone conversation at the funeral. When I told her about the divorce, she welcomed me back warmly, saying, "I'm glad this would save you from more trouble." I was honestly glad to leave Joe at this point in my life. If I had stayed married to him, my dad's inheritance would have ended up in my in-laws' hands. It was only for my mom and me. A few days later, when I was spending peaceful days with my mom, I received a call from Joe. "Hey, Amelia, how long are you going to be gone?" "What are you talking about? I've already left you." He sounded so dumb. "What do you mean you left me?" "The divorce papers you left behind. That was your intention, wasn't it?" "I've had enough with you guys, so I've filed them." "Oh no? Seriously?" "I did it because my parents told me to use it to scare you." I had no intention of actually divorcing. I was utterly disgusted. "You really don't have your own opinion, do you? It's a good thing I left you." He was apparently calling me from his parents' house, and I was on speaker. The voice on the phone changed to Leah. "Hey, what a selfish person you are." "What do you mean?" "You're the one who made him use divorce, aren't you?" "I just did what you wanted me to do and filed it." "You're such an arrogant daughter-in-law." "I am not anymore." "Shut up. It's unbelievable that you filed for divorce before we've even spoken about the division of property and stuff. Didn't you inherit a fortune when your father died? Give us half of that money. Joe was still your husband when he died. He will get half of the property." "I see, so we've split it 50-50. "That's right. How much did you inherit?" $300,000. Oh my gosh. The four families shouted with joy when they heard the large sum. "Joe then will receive $150,000. If we get that much money, we don't need you anymore. After you transfer it to us, you can go on living your life as you please." They were beyond belief selfish and bunch of airheads. What are you talking about? My father's inheritance is not part of the property division. It's all mine. And besides, do you remember calling me and my parents strangers? I don't have any money to spend on others. Too bad for you, but let it go. The other end of the phone suddenly quieted down. No way. Are you sure we won't get a penny? Yes, I'm sure. Never mind the money. Is a nigger enough to get rid of a bratty daughter-in-law like me? As soon as I said it, Leah changed her attitude and started to implore me. Amelia, dear, everything we've said and done so far is just a prank, you know. It's like a surprise that took a long time. That's right, we consider you family. Such a blatant lying was heinous. It's only a matter of time before I never have to deal with these people again. I'm hanging up now. If you show up at my house, I'll call the police right away. They fell silent. I hung up the phone and blocked the calls. Then, just to be safe, my mom and I sold the house and moved out. I was glad we did. My ex-in-laws broke the window of the house and burst in with some weapons to get money from me, all from resentment. There was someone else already living there, so they were immediately arrested. As a result, Joe, his father, and Erin lost their jobs. And the full family is unemployed and living a miserable life now. I, on the other hand, signed a contract with my mom for a reasonably priced rental apartment. My dad's inheritance will be used to fund my retirement, and I am leading a peaceful and tranquil life. I will continue to work hard and live a happy life with my mother.